Appreciate the confidence of the subcommittee. All right, so we've got the role recognized, we've got a quorum, we're gonna go forward. The only patron that is currently here is a fellow subcommittee member, Senator Barker.
All right, simple enough.
So Senate Bill 762, Senator Barker.
Yeah, Senate Bill 762, last year we passed legislation that dealt with certain mental health providers, had a definition of licensed mental health professional, and what this would do is add licensed behavioral analysts. We do have an amendment to do that, I think, if I recall.
Yes, striking and assistant behavior analyst.
Licensed behavior analyst, and then we don't have the assistant behavior analyst there, so program license.
So would you like to move that amendment, Senator Barker? And Senator Cosgrove will second it.
He does a good job of that, so.
He's a good.
As many as favor adoption of the amendment?
Aye.
All right, we've got that before us now. All right.
And what this does is basically brings the licensed behavior analyst into the definition of a licensed mental health professional, so there's no ambiguity and no lack of clarity on things there. So,
Is there anyone in the audience has any concerns about this bill?
we do have someone who can speak to it, so I think he's in favor of it rather than.
Is there anyone that would like to tell us why they think this is a good bill?
Mr. Chairman, Subcommittee, Matthew Stanley, representing Virginia Association of Behavior Analysis. We do think Senator Barker introduced this bill. We realized the deficiency of licensed behavior analysts not be included in the definition of a licensed mental health professional last year after the QMHP registration legislation was passed. We do think this is necessary to ensure that licensed behavior analysts are recognized in the appropriate way within the code and are able to properly supervise different services under Department of Behavioral Health and Federal Services. So we do appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this bill? Now we'll be able to have another senator. All right. So, Senator Lewis, just so you know, the bill before us right now is Senate Bill 762. You've got any strong feelings about this?
Old 762.
And if you'd like to make a motion on the bill,
Move we recommend reporting.
I will second that.
all right, so we've got that motion before us. Is there any discussion on the motion to report?
I think this is a good bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Barker. As many as favor the recommendation to report will vote aye.
Aye.
As many as oppose. All right, so we're gonna, that one is recommend to report on a 3-0-1 vote. Senator Cosgrove. No, make me the one. He can have the more normal yes vote. But that way we can at least tag it since there were only two of us here for most of it, and one of them was the patron.
I think I should count twice.
There you go. All right, do we have our next patron here? All right, the next bill that will be up is Senate Bill 663. It's from Senator McPike. Is there anyone that's traveled here today that'd like to speak to the bill? Does anyone have concerns about the bill? Anyone that's in support of Senate Bill 663?
Yeah.
All right, please identify yourself.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, I'm Kyle Schrader with the Virginia Association of Health Plans. We do actually support the bill. This is a product that came out of a work group that we had formed over the summer to take a look at the issue of air ambulance balance billing. Is my understanding that there is a substitute. Is that?
Does council have a substitute to report?
I do, but without the number here.
Well, why don't you explain the substitute to us so we at least have that before us?
So it's still,
Is it still under consideration?
still be confidential.
Okay.
I'm happy to wait. That's what I was
Well,
waiting for.
as we
the
wait for the
future to come in.
substitute, come tell us some more about why you think it's a good bill.
Sure. So during the study, we found that 2/3
okay.
of air ambulance transports are done hospital to hospital. The Bureau of Insurance reported data that in the past 3 years, from 2015 to 2017, the average balance bill complaint was $27,464. So we actually have we have one instance in which there was a flight from Winchester to Lynchburg that was $48,000. So all, and I won't talk about the bill, but that is kind of the problem, and the bill hopes to address some of those by doing a patient notification.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Brent Rawlings, Virginia Hospital and Healthcare Association. And we also worked on this bill. One of the primary concerns that we had with respect to the notice to the patient, earlier versions of the bill would have required the hospitals to provide information about how much those air ambulance services might cost them. That's information that we don't have at the time of service. We don't have the amendment before us yet, but it sounds like the amendment is intended to put in place a mechanism for the Office of Emergency Medical Services to develop, working with the air ambulance companies, a list of average charges. If that information is available and made available to us, that's information that we can include in the notice. So hopefully this solution will be something that's really workable for us. If that's information that is provided to us and it's in a useful format, we can include that in the patient notices, and that seems like a reasonable request.
All right, great. Is there anyone else that would like to speak regarding this bill? Is there anyone that has any concerns? Here he is now. Senator McPike, do you have a substitute for your bill?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we've got the substitute in front of us. Would you like to make a motion, Senator Barker?
I make a motion.
I move that we adopt the substitute.
Senator Lewis shares your support.
He seconds the motion.
All right. As many as favor adoption of the substitute will say aye.
Aye.
As many as opposed. All right, the substitute's before us. We've already heard some good testimony on your bill. I think it's in a pretty good place. If there's anything that you want us to know.
Did we move the line amendment yet?
We only have the substitute.
Okay.
Is there an additional line amendment?
So yes, Mr. Chairman, line 157, after that, delete Department of Health in concert with the department and insert office. So it's Office of Emergencies Medical Services, sort of a technical correction.
Senator Barker, would you like to move that amendment?
Yes, I'll move that amendment, and Senator Lewis will second.
As many as favor adoption of the amendment will vote aye.
Aye. Although I will ask you a question here. Okay, let me ask you a question.
All right, the motion is withdrawn.
Okay. When you say in concert with the Office of Emergency Medical Services, isn't the Office of Emergency Medical Services in the health department?
Yes. That's why it's deleting that provision and just putting Office of a Medical.
Okay,
Just to
you're
have it more
striking
direct, just
health.
striking Department of Health in
Okay.
concert with the department and just inserting instead Office of Emergency Medical Services.
That does make more sense.
Cleans it up a little bit.
I like that amendment better than the one I made earlier, so I'll move that amendment, and Senator Lewis will second.
As many as favor that motion?
Aye.
All right, as many as opposed, we have that line amendment to the substitute. It's now before us. Everyone that expressed so much interest in the bill before, have you got to look at the substitute? Was it what you expected?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So your support still stands? And is there anyone who now with the new substitute has opposition or concerns about this? Senator Barker.
I move that the subcommittee recommend reporting the bill. And Senator Lewis seconds that motion.
All right, any discussion on the motion we have before us to report?
None whatsoever.
All right. As many as favor the motion to recommend reporting the substitute with an amendment, signify by voting aye.
Aye.
As many as oppose that,
Senator Lewis votes aye.
and Senator Cosgrove also votes aye. So your bill is recommended for report on a 4-0 vote. You do not need to come to full committee unless you get noticed by the chair. Thank you for this abbreviated event.
Senator Reeves is working on presenting and on his way up, so.
Okay. So Senator McPike's gonna go help us get Senator Reeves back up here. He has the only other bill before us. Is there anyone that's planning on speaking to that bill, so we can gauge? And are you all in, well, let's wait for a second. Are you in support?
Yes, we worked out something with Senator
Are you,
Reeves.
so everyone present here is in support. Is there anyone here that wants to express concerns?
Wait a minute, we oppose the legislation as it's
Yeah.
been introduced.
We
We
need
have an
this.
amendment where we agreed
Excellent.
upon with Senator Reeves and we all support it.
So, is there anyone, that has concerns about the legislation other than the two gentlemen that have identified themselves? All right, so what we're gonna do, because I think that this has been worked out with Senator Reeves' office, so we're gonna hear what you all hope the amendment will look like, and when we'll ask Senator Reeves to come, and if he offers such an amendment, we'll entertain that, and if he doesn't, we'll consider the unamended bill at that time. So, hopefully he will be here soon.
Okay.
And we've got Senator Black here. So, would one of you like to come up and share your concerns? And so the bill before us, there's only 3 bills here, but Senate Bill 831, and we're gonna discuss that. You can use mine. So, please identify yourself and your concerns and what you'd like to see happen.
Homes of Virginia. When we saw this piece of legislation, we went to the senator and asked him the rationale behind it, and what we found out was is that he had a family of a veteran that called up a local funeral home and wanted to know if the funeral home would accept and use a casket that they purchased from another party out of state, online or whatever, doesn't matter where it was. And the funeral home told them no, they would not take that. So that's what the reason of this bill was. When we looked at it, it was much broader than that, and what we advised the senator was is that that's against, the funeral home was acting in violation of the Federal Trade Commission rule on funeral homes, also is in violation of the Board of Funeral Directors and Embalmers regulations. So principally, the bill was trying to address a problem that was already illegal. We have, and what the senator said was is that, well, he can understand that somebody, a layperson, may not look at FPC rules or regulations of the licensing board, and we offered in the profession, the different funeral home associations, said, okay, well, why don't we then have to address that, put in the statute, strike out that language and put in the language that essentially, I can give this to Tom, now I know you have that one more copy. But principally what it does is it puts into the code that the federal regulations citation, so it's there permanently, that says that what's already law required that a funeral home has to accept a casket from a third party. That regulation also says a funeral home's not allowed to charge for it. They have to receive it, so it's all spelled out in details. That in essence, the senator advised us with more to take care of the issue, make everybody happy. I will tell you as an aside, when we looked at this legislation, at first glance, it was just really broad, much more than caskets. But then when you look at it further, when you read it carefully, what it does is it removes all of the sale and distribution and handling of these products from the definition of a funeral director. So in essence, by doing so, it would make all of these products no longer applicable to all these laws and Federal Trade Commission rules that were designed years ago to protect the public. That's not the desire of the funeral homes. So principally, what we've done is address the constituent problem, the senator's happy, and we're putting into law what the federal rule, what the federal law is, which again is, if you bring a casket, you make one, you buy it from somebody else, buy it from the world, you get it imported from somewhere, family heirloom, take it to the funeral home, they have to take it, they can't charge you extra for it, no extra handling charge, and that's what this will clarify.
Senator Black has a question.
Just a question, is there anything added by the FCC? What is the organization, is it FCC?
It's Federal Trade Commission.
Federal, FTC?
Yes.
I didn't think so. First sounded right, I knew I was off.
I know, the FCC
But
gets involved in a lot of
But
things.
anyway, what does that add beyond, it sounds to me like you're wide open to any caskets, basically, that are brought in. So is there anything in addition that the FTC rules add to that?
Well, they get into that a funeral home is required to accept and use a casket purchased by a third party. It additionally clarifies that you cannot charge a service fee, a handling fee, or whatever. That, in all candor, that was a little bit contentious when the Federal Trade Commission adopted it, because you had concerns by the funeral homes of, okay, we're in a visitation, and all of a sudden body fluids are leaking, or they pick up and start carrying the casket out, and the bottom drops on, everybody's gonna think it's the responsibility of the funeral homes. In all candor, they do take a look and make sure things are secure, and then they deal with that as a family. But that's, bottom line is the Federal Trade Commission turns around and requires it.
So basically, the bill, the patron's bill, and with your amendments, it just lines up with the FTC?
Yes, sir, and the board regulations. Principally what it does is that if somebody looks at the state law, they see a notation about casket sales, rather than having to, they may not know about the Federal Trade Commission or look at the board regulations. So we're making it, in this situation, particularly with a veteran involved, there was a feeling of the need to make sure it was clarified in law. That evidently resolves all the concerns.
Thank you. Sir, would you please identify yourself?
Sure. My name is Larry Spiaggi. I'm a funeral director and I also represent the Virginia Funeral Directors Association. Just like Mr. Keeney stated, the original context of the bill did not solve the problem that this constituent had. We find it hard to believe 30 years after the federal trade rule was in place that there's a funeral home out there that doesn't know the law. They don't belong to our association. So I don't think they belong to his association. So we try to train them as we go along. We are already mandated by law to follow this law. And like he said, this appeases his constituent. We're okay. It makes it more clear in the code. These funeral homes have to accept an outside, or we call them third-party caskets. So we're in favor of the amended bill.
Senator Barker, Senator Black, have any questions on that?
No, I think that's fine.
So what we're gonna do right now is the subcommittee's gonna stand at ease till Senator Reeves comes. When I anticipate if he finds this amendment that's been discussed agreeable, we will then consider that amendment, and then we'll consider action on the bill itself, either in an amended form or itself. But there's no one else that feels compelled to share their thoughts with us. So we're gonna stand at ease until Senator Reeves is present. All right, the subcommittee's back in order. Senator Reeves is gonna be held up for some time. Senator Reeves, Legislative Director Cassie Horn's here, and we've been discussing this amendment for some time, and she would like to make a statement on behalf of Senator Reeves regarding the amendment and his support.
Yes, Senator Reeves accepts the amendment and would like to add it to the bill.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion then that we adopt the amendment and that council find the appropriate place within the bill to place the amendment.
I think he already has a code section idea, but what we, as the subcommittee, we simply need to make a recommendation to the full committee. The full committee is the one that will make that, so I think that is a good motion for us. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, as many as favor adoption of the line amendment that council previously reported and that we've taken testimony on, please signify by voting aye.
Aye.
As many as oppose that, will vote no. All right, that amendment is adopted on
And then
a 5-0 vote. And Senator Black?
I would move that we recommend to the full committee adoption of this with as amended.
Yeah, I'll second the motion to recommend reporting of the bill.
Thank you. We now have the amended bill before us. There's a motion to report. And any further discussion? As many as favor adoption of that motion will vote aye.
Aye.
Many as oppose that?
Senator Lewis votes aye.
All right, Senator Lewis and Senator Cosgrove both vote in the affirmative, so that will be recommended for report on a 5-0 as amended. And that completes our docket, and we do not intend to have another health professions subcommittee meeting on any more Senate bills. Thank you all for coming.